Thank you for joining us here today. I am joined by Vincent from Hometread.
How you doing?
He's the CEO of that company, and we're excited to kind of dig into that a little bit to learn more about Vincent. And we want to make this as kind of collaborative as we can. So if you have questions, comments, please share that during the video, and we'll get to as many of those as we can. And if you have a different topic you want us to talk about, be happy to do that as well. But let's first just start off by talking to Vincent here. Just tell us a little bit more about what Hometread is.
Well, Hometread is an on-site tire sales and installation and auto maintenance company. What we do is we take all those tedious tasks that require you to take a car to a shop, a local shop, and we take care of all that stuff at home or work so that our clients aren't wasting time.
I think that's the magic of it, right? Because you are literally saving people time. They don't need to schedule a bunch of stuff in advance. They don't need to go to a car shop and sit there waiting for the vehicle to be done. They don't have to deliver the vehicle. They don't need to return it. And Rafiki from Indonesia says, hi.
How you doing?
Thank you for joining us today. If you have questions, feel free to ask them during the event here.
Thanks for joining.
But I love how you have found a way to make people's lives better. And the magic is that you have it at a price that's comparable to like an actual vehicle repair place. I mean, this idea seems totally like life-changing.
It was the main focus from the very beginning is how to take the tedious tasks, make them better, and make them convenient while staying comparable to the traditional brick and mortar. So our clients, if they need a set of tires and they need them installed, if they shop the brick and mortar and they get a price and they shop Hometread, it's the same price. Why not get that done while at home when it's convenient, or even when you're being productive at work? And so being comparable in price to the brick and mortar was key from very beginning. And
Yeah.
So, and I think it's been something that we've had to explain often, because when people hear that we come to their homes and we service their cars, that they automatically think it comes along with a premium, and when they realize that it doesn't, it makes the concept even better. And so
Yeah.
we like that response.
Yeah.
So,
I love you guys have this like fancy truck that you guys have custom built
Yes.
to actually repair the vehicle. And so they drive this truck to your home. And in a few minutes, we'll actually show off a video that we did. We'll show that a little bit later, where you get to see a little bit behind the scenes of what you've created to make this all happen. Because this is not a simple feat to get a whole vehicle repair shop on wheels.
No, it took over a year development and lots of conversation to be able to set up that truck efficiently, ergonomically, for that truck to be safe for our techs, and to be just a really comfortable platform for our techs to navigate the area and get to our client's home or work and be able to get that job done as quickly as possible and as efficient as possible. So
Yeah.
the truck has been we love the truck. And so
Oh, Alyssa chimed in here and mentioned how she thinks the old Honda needs some work done. Yeah, we have an old Honda that is not in great shape, so maybe at some point we'll get some help on that.
Yeah, we'll come over and take a look at it, and we'll go through the process, and we'll figure out what needs to get done, and we'll get that done. So. Yeah.
So I think one of the interesting questions, for a lot of people who are thinking about starting their own business and jumping into being an entrepreneur, is what was that like, taking that initial plunge to make that happen?
Geez, I'd like to let everyone know. I always talk to people about ideas, and most people have really good ideas, and what stops them is the process. And it's a lengthy process. It's a scary process. I've been really super fortunate, Mike. I've shared my ideas with people that have mentored me and Hometread through the process from the very beginning, and that was key to where I am today. So finding the right people to help give advice, people with experience, I think was instrumental in what we've done, where we are, and even moving forward. So I have mentors that have been with me from just sharing the idea to where we are today. The very same mentors, and I think they're going to be with me throughout this whole entire journey. So it was scary, and it's okay for it to be scary, but don't let it stop you.
Yeah.
And so I made the decision early on that I was going to see this through, and there were lots of obstacles and challenges, but I think one of my mentors said it best. She said, "We do things that others don't." And so continue to fight forward, get the answers you need. And I always remember that. And so whenever we hit challenges, I always remember I'm doing something different, and I got to keep moving forward. So
That's great. I think that is one of the things, is putting yourself out there, because you're making a claim. You're saying, hey, I believe in X. I believe in my business. I believe in what we're doing.
right.
And it's terrifying because you don't really know 100% if it's going to work out in the long run.
Right.
So you're putting yourself out there
Right.
for the world to see. Yeah, that.
Absolutely.
So was it the mentors that really helped you to encourage you to take that next step, or was that just an inner strength you had, or how did you do that?
I think early on when I needed to write the business plan, I was fortunate enough to have been accepted into a mentorship at the University of St. Thomas.
Awesome.
And I think it was there that I felt really encouraged to move forward when sharing the ideas and seeing the enthusiasm of my mentors and what I was trying to accomplish. And after doing so much research and getting answers and figuring out whether or not it was going to be viable or a good idea, hearing their enthusiasm for what I was trying to accomplish was always food for that, for the energy to keep going forward. And so, like I said just a couple of minutes ago, I've been really fortunate to have really good people around me, and for that I'm always grateful.
So what tips do you have to start up a company right?
So,
And then the follow-up is, did you have investors? So start with the first one.
all right, the first one, to start it right, I needed to write a business plan, and I don't consider myself a strong writer. I didn't write well, so I needed to get help, and I was fortunate enough to have applied over at mentorship over at the University of St. Thomas, and it was kind of a snowball effect there. It was really great the way it happened. In developing the business plan, we got to a point where my mentors felt you're far enough where you need a good lawyer, and we reached out to an alumni from University of St. Thomas who heard what I was trying to accomplish, and has been my business lawyer from day one till today.
Awesome.
So you see how having the right people is key.
So it really sounds like networking and
Yeah.
connecting with the right people. It's laying out a clear plan for what you're going to do, how you're going to get sales. That's always a big
Yes.
challenge. We'll get into that later.
That's a big challenge.
Finding investors. Let's go into that. How did you go about finding investors?
Well, I took an organic approach. I wanted Hometread to be, like I just said, organic. I kept it away from friends and family, and I went out and I tested. I put myself on the line. I gave presentation after presentation.
So did you just call random people up, or did you go to networking events? How did you find these people?
Through my mentors.
Oh, really?
Yeah, mentors would know people who knew people, and we would connect, and it's the whole networking game. Yeah.
You know, I've heard it said that the more people you have rooting for you in your business, the way more likely you are to succeed. So I think the people and connecting with people is so critical in those early days.
You know, if it were not for the outreach of certain people, which I think maybe lent, I think people felt like I'd like to hear about this.
Yeah.
Went out and if it were not again for the networking of the mentors and the people that were around me, we won't be as far. And I'm going to keep saying that, I think, throughout this message, because it has been so instrumental, and it's, till today I eternally grateful for having those people. So I'll always talk about, I think I'll always refer back to the mentors. And so
how about how did you go about networking? So it was mainly, I hear, the University of St. Thomas and their program.
Yep.
But did you do anything else? Did you go to networking events? How did you meet other people?
Well, I attended a couple of networking events, and I for some reason I didn't do well at them, and so I stayed more on a personal side and did the extra legwork and worked with mentors and people that I knew. So that process took a little longer because I was meeting less people, right? You go to networking groups, tons and tons of people, lots of people. It took, again, I think, more of an organic approach to what we were doing. So it was through the word of the people that I knew that were helping and understood what the focus was, to find those people to say, you know what, we want to be part of this. And so
that's interesting you brought up. So you went to networking events, and it was a struggle for you. I know it's so hard when you go into an event and you know nobody. Like, to stick out your hand and shake and say hi to someone, especially if they're in a group talking to each other, is just terrifying.
It was, especially that I went to networking functions and I didn't have anything in common with most of the people that were there. So we're doing auto repair and maintenance, right? We're doing tires. And whereas, business as a whole, right, there are certain principles, there are certain disciplines that hold true. It was difficult to find commonality with a lot of the people that were there. You go to networking groups and you hear a lot about IT, technology, healthcare, but you seldom hear about, the service industry, in which I was hoping to go into.
Yeah.
And so finding common ground was always a challenge in that setting. And so I think that when the setting became more personal, where it was a one-to-one, whether that person was in IT or healthcare, we were able to connect differently. And so
you did better with the one-to-one interactions.
I did much better with the one-on-one interactions, because regardless of what they were doing, everyone owns a vehicle, right? And we were able to spend that time and really connect. Whereas doing network functions, you don't really have. There's so much going on that you don't really, it's very difficult to connect really quick. And
so let's jump into, so you decide you're starting your business, you find some great mentors, you beat the idea up, and then you finally decide, all right, I'm going to do this. How do you go about finding your first customer?
Well, I have very little marketing and advertising experience. I relied heavily on people that I knew, so I jumped on Facebook, my network through Facebook friends. I worked prior to Hometread, so I had a professional network that I reached out to and said, hey, I'm starting my own business. And that's how it all started. It started with, hey, we worked with Vincent on this end, and he started his business, and if you need tires, give him a call. And it snowballed from there, because we have an amazing referral rate. And so we get tons of referrals from our clients, who will then talk to a family member or a co-worker or someone they know. They'll hear it and say, oh, I know a guy, and somebody will call me and say, hey, you did this person's tires, and we think we need some.
Yeah.
And it starts the relationship, and that's how it's happened so far. And it's been great. I love it. It's been a real nice process so far.
So there's a big key there, which is just providing a fantastic service, because you wouldn't get those further referrals unless you did a great job at what you're doing. What's your satisfaction rate? What are people saying?
So I would venture to say that we have pretty close to 100% satisfaction rate right now. Our clients rave about the service. I think when they realize, after the process, I think the clients are really happy with with the overall process, and then being able to relax and stay at home, or to be able to stay
nice.
being able to stay in your work environment while these chores are being done. I believe my clients really love that, and so they take advantage of it, and so
we got another question coming in. How do you be a wise leader to others, especially employees, having a positive impact on them?
It's a really good question. As a matter of fact, we just brought on another tech, so I've always thought about that, and here's my theory.
Yeah.
Is, culture comes from us, and it trickles from the top downward. So I need to be able to operate in a certain way and influence that across the organization. And so I take a very personal approach to what we do, and I would expect that everyone involved with Hometread will always take a very personal approach to what we do. Singular. If you're dealing with a client, that's all that exists. Work with the client. Make sure that the task at hand is done to the best of our abilities, and more importantly, communicate what's happening in a job, and make sure that we stay true to our word.
Yeah, and there's a couple things I would add to that. I was actually at an event yesterday that talked about this very point. It was a writer who wrote about having like a deep respect for your employees, putting their interests above your own. And there was two different groups that kind of segmented. One was sort of the employers and leaders who thought that whatever is legal is okay, and let's just get this business to be the best it can be. And then there was this other group that really focused on, like, how do we put the attention and focus and energy on our employees? And the group that focused on employees and putting them first and really giving them their heart, those companies grew so much faster and did so much better than the leaders who kind of put somewhat almost to some degree themselves first. So I think there's a lot of tangible things that can be done to improve how we focus on employees.
Absolutely.
Things like, at our company we do one-on-ones, which is a weekly meeting with each one of our employees and the supervisor. We have weekly meetings with the team to connect together, and there's a specific process behind that. We do different events, like we're doing a Halloween event that one of our people on our construction team brought up, and so that group is going out there to have some fun there.
That sounds fun.
Those are just a few little things. And you're just starting out, because this is your very first employee, right? So what specific things have you done to really build that relationship with them to make him feel important in the business?
I think I need to further this idea, but I want a company of owners as opposed to traditional employees.
Yeah.
So he's coming on board, and what I would like to do is put together a structure for him so that he has a sense of ownership. And when you have a sense of ownership, he's going to operate differently than the traditional, I got to come in at 9, do a set of ties, and go home. And so I think that's the way I'd like to set up the company. And I'm testing that theory right now, and I hope that we're able to accomplish that.
Yeah.
And so the overall idea is everyone has a vested interest in doing the absolute best job that they can do. And
Yeah.
so I know how important it feels to me, and if I can convey that feeling to someone else, then I think it's through ownership. It's through ownership and accountability, and saying, hey, this is yours. This is what you're gonna do. This is a reflection of who you are. Make it happen, and go out and let's help people. Let's have the best time that we can have changing a tire.
Yeah.
So,
I love that. And I think another important key is simply listening. Because our employees, if we're willing to stop and truly listen and not like be angry at them, instead we're listening to them, they'll give us feedback
Sure.
on the ways we're screwing up. Just this last week, we did a book club meeting. So we do a book club meeting with our leadership team once a quarter. And we sat down and we talked about things like employee engagement. And during that meeting, it was raw because a couple of the staff members were very open and honest about ways that I was failing. And that's hard to hear as a leader, but it's so important because that's how we can improve and really show our employees that we're willing to listen and change and make their lives better.
Mike, I think that shows how strong of a leader you are to be able to accept that and say there's something bigger happening than me, right? It's a concept. And so we look at Hometread, the idea, it's bigger than me. And I want to let my partner know that we're exactly that. We're partners in this concept. So the focus is outside of making our environment safe and efficient and good, is to make sure that the client is happy. So I'm a tool. I'm your tool, right? Use me to make that happen. And whichever way that has to happen, I have to adjust.
Yeah.
And so he has to, whoever gets involved with Hometread has to understand that the way that I would position myself is lateral of my team. We're all together.
Yeah.
Let's go out and let's make this happen. And so that's the way I feel about it.
I actually saw one company that turned the org chart, the organization chart, upside down. So instead of the president being on top, the president was on the bottom and the senior leaders were the second rung up, to really illustrate the point that this team doesn't serve the president serves the team. Yeah,
exactly. I'd like to get away from your traditional hierarchy system. I'd like to get away from certain terms. I founded Hometread, but I want to give it to everyone. And so, I had a vision on how we can improve on an industry, and I'd like to give it to people who can go out and keep it healthy. And so, just the way I feel about it.
Awesome. So this week we got together on Monday and had a little fun.
Yeah, we did.
We hopped in your truck and got a little ride along to see what it was like experiencing Hometread. And so our staff went a little bit crazy this week trying to edit a video together. And luckily they did. We finished it up kind of at the last second.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be fun to show everyone the video. What do you think?
I'm excited to see it.
All right, well, let's take a look at that video.
I am here with Vincent from Hometread. He is a humble guy who has created an incredible company where they will actually service your car at your home and save you time in the process.
The traditional way of doing auto repair hasn't changed in over 100 years. And so as a company, we've looked at the processes involved and we decided we can make this better and easier and more convenient. And that's how Hometread was born.
Well, Vincent, we're about to head out to actually test out and see what Hometread looks like in real life. You ready to go?
Let's do it.
Let's do this.
So my father challenged me to write a business plan, and I've never written before, and I don't write well.
Yeah.
And so, my father's a man of few words, and he's never really requested much of me. So when he says, I think you're sitting on something, you got to put this on paper, well, I had to go put it on paper.
Hey Jen, how you doing? This is Vincent from Hometread. Lift up a car, all we do is... That's all it takes. And now we're taking out the lug nuts so that we can get the wheel off. There we go, first wheel off. There we go. Tires now first beating off. And now we take used tire, put it over there. Now we're gonna put on the new tire. This is gonna balance this tire so that there's no vibrations. The machine has a laser that tells us exactly where we need to put these weights. Beautiful. And it's beautiful when the machine reads 0, 0. We know we got a perfectly balanced tire.
Hometread is doing is they're providing automotive services at your home, so it saves you time, but at a cost that's very comparable to normal automotive services. And so for us as a company at Norhart, we knew this is a company that we wanted to partner with because they are ultimately improving the way that people live.
It seems that our companies fall in line in respect to helping.
Yeah.
It's that simple,
Yeah.
helping out. And so we can't change much of the world, but when it comes to auto repair and maintenance, we can make a difference. And we figure, why not? Why not see if we can come together and help?
I just love that video. That's so cool. My favorite part is when you talk about your dad and how he really inspired you to put that plan together. Want to tell us more about that?
Want to hear something funny?
Yeah.
He'll say today that he had nothing to do with it. We've had that conversation, and I'd look at my dad and just dumbfounded. Like, are you kidding me? Like, it was exactly the motivation. Like, I specifically remember, my dad and I talking before, starting Hometread, and my dad and mom always knew I always had ideas, and I remember my dad sitting in the kitchen and saying to me, "So, any new ideas, anything you're working on?" And I said to him, "Not really, just still have my tire idea." And he said, "Tire idea?" And I shared it with him, and I know I shared it with him before, and he acted like it was the first time he ever heard it. And I'm like, "Dad, I've shared this idea with you." And he says, so we went through the idea, and amazingly, he asked me a question that stumped the whole concept right in that very first conversation. Yep. And he said, and I looked at him and I said, "I never thought of that." And he says, "Well, if you get an answer to that, you think you're sitting on something." And he says and I specifically remember him saying, "You got to get this on paper. Get it on paper and get it to me." And I remember when mom and dad leaving, thinking, "Wow, I got to write a business plan now." And so that was the beginning, and I remember it just like it was yesterday, and that was the motivation. That was the first step. I got to get this idea out of my head onto paper so I could give it to my dad. And so and then here we are. So
Yeah, I love that.
And so, but I would say if you asked him today, he'd say, "I had nothing to do with it," which blows my mind. But
So I noticed Rafiki mentioned and brought in some really interesting points.
Okay.
He wanted a little bit of inspiration for the kids, especially for him in Indonesia. Do you have some inspirational words for a kid, maybe in school, who eventually wants to one day be an entrepreneur and start his own company and be a CEO like you?
Well, I don't consider myself an entrepreneur yet. I make a joke about it, and I call myself a wantrepreneur. But eventually, I'd like to get to that designation. Motivation. If you believe, I guess, if you have such a strong belief in something, we're gonna fail more than we ever succeed.
Yes.
Right? We're going to fail more than we ever succeed. So we have to be accepting of that. And we have to continue to move forward. So just recently I hear motivational speakers talking about failing and not being afraid to fail.
Yeah.
And I'm terrified of it. As much practice as I've had failing, it terrifies me. And what I've learned in the last 5 years is learning how to fail forward. So we have to be mindful of what we're doing and consider the things that we have, because if we fail and hurt what we've already done, then we should fear that. So in planning and thinking and making that move, always plan to fail forward. And if we're failing forward, then eventually you're going to get where you want to go. So don't be afraid of it. Just, don't be afraid to make that move of failing forward, I should say. And so,
I've always heard, especially younger growing up, leaders and speakers talk about not failing or not being afraid to fail. And I was like, okay, that always sounds nice. But the reality of it is so emotionally gripping.
Absolutely.
Because when you fail even just a little bit, it just tears into you. But it's so true that successful people realize that it isn't a difference between just failing and succeeding. Truly successful people realize that you fail a lot of times on the journey to success. And so, like, even for me, like, we've been toying in social media even with this event, and there have been plenty of failures. And I think one of my favorite is my Twitter account. I think at one point I had like 37 people, and that was down from 38 the week prior. So really not doing that great. But the thing is, you keep pushing, keep putting new stuff out there, and some things really work. Keep trying, and something will work out.
Yep, keep pushing forward. You don't know how many people I reached out to, and then I found you.
Oh,
Right? We found each other.
Yeah.
We reached out, we connected. There were so many attempts of outreach that went unanswered. And if I would have taken that, then we wouldn't have been able to connect ourselves. And so, very small example, but if you take it and apply it to everything else, you got to keep going and keep going. And so, believe in what you do and go out and get the answers.
how many investors did you have to reach out to before you got enough?
I got a lot of no's.
Yeah.
I got a lot of no's. It was quite a few. I'd have to say at least 20, 25.
So that's literally 20 to 25 meetings. You sit down with somebody,
Yes.
and you have a heart-to-heart conversation about your passion, your dream. You lay it all out there,
Yep.
and they're like, "Nope."
Yep. And
Go.
and some were very considerate and would follow through and say, I think this is a great idea. Just not for me right now. The ones that were really painful were the ones that you just go radio silent. And you sit and then you start to question your presentation. You start to question, maybe I should have worn something different. You start to question, did I say something wrong, or is this not right? And you got to get past. And I'm gonna then go back, Mike, to tell you, if it were not from a mentor saying you're doing great, keep going, you're doing great. It was discouraging at times.
So that's where you got the strength to keep going, is people beside you who've been there before, who can tell you this is just part of the process.
Absolutely. And it didn't, it didn't make it feel any better.
Yeah.
Because, mentors would say, you're really at an accelerated pace. And I would say, I really don't feel accelerated at all. This really hurts,
Yeah.
And so, and they would say, keep going forward. You're really doing great. And so, if I didn't hear that from them, and I think that would have made it a lot harder. So, again, the right people, right? We live in a world full of them. And so, the right people have made a big difference. So.
What are the biggest challenges you see going forward as you look at taking your small new business to something bigger?
Yeah, I think right now we're looking to develop a leadership team because we feel that there's going to be some significant growth here really soon, and so being able to communicate effectively with our potential clients is going to be key for us.
Yeah.
And so putting in the infrastructure to be able to take care of people that are inquiring for service. So right now, I think our biggest challenge is a leadership team.
Yeah.
And so I've been, other than my mentors and advisory group, I've been kind of riding solo as far as operationally, and now to bring in the right personalities and help and to get this from that small bubble to a bigger bubble. And so
That is a huge challenge I see for you. It's the leadership team, it's the right people in place, and what you guys are trying to do is really scale it, right?
Yes.
Because you're growing the number of customers by a lot. It seems like almost every month it seems to be growing a lot. And how do you be able to service all of those customers with the same care and attention that you're providing them now?
And that's always, I think that's every organization's a challenge, if you hear. But we're going to have the same challenge, and I'm hoping, I believe that having the right leadership team will be able to to come in and develop the system that we need to be able to accomplish that. And so I do have ideas on how to do that, and coming together with the right minds, I think is going to be the next step for Hometread, and we're really looking forward to it. And I got a feeling that's going to happen a little sooner than we thought, but it's a good thing. And so we're the response that we're getting from our clients and people has just been fantastic. So it's time to get it out to a larger group. So
That's great. So what's your hope for the next year, 5 years, 10 years? What's your plan for the future?
The next year, I would say leadership team and developing the efficient systems. 5 year is for everyone to expect our kind of service. I think in 5 years, I'd like to have 7-8 trucks on the road, and long term, I'd like for there to be a Hometread in every major city.
I sincerely think someday we're going to look back at this video and be like, wow, that's where they started. Now Hometread is like a nationwide name. I really think that's going to happen because this idea is so strong. If you can execute on it, I think it's going to be phenomenal.
Thank you very much. I hope to get to that part, and yeah, I can't wait to look back on the video.
Yeah. So we had another question come in. Do you detail cars, or do you ever plan to?
Yeah, we do. We right now are putting together a system to do car washes and detailing.
Oh, interesting.
Yep. And so we're putting that together soon. The website is going to be revamped here real soon to show all the offerings. And what we like to do is take a real individual approach to what we do. So we can call, a client can call in and say, I like this service, and then put a package together and then help maintain their vehicle for the life of that vehicle.
So when do you think, are you able to tell us, like when do you think you'll have the detail and service available?
I think not many people get their cars detailed during the winter time.
Yeah.
So it's going to be in place here in the next couple months, and then full bore come the springtime when people want to get all that salt and get their car ready for the spring, summer, and the fall. So, but we'll be able to do car washes and detailing during the winter here. So next couple of months we should be full. We should be ready. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I love about Vincent, I've been getting to know him for the past couple months now. We've met quite a few times, it seems. Every week it seems you're by our office. But I just love the humility that Vincent has.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that.
I think it really comes through when you get to know him and understand his real heart for really creating a better way for people to live. Want to walk us through that heart and passion for helping make people's lives better?
I'm bringing maybe there's been some personal experiences that have led me to where I am today. I think I want to accomplish something special, so that I could pass it on to my daughters, and that's really personal motivation, is doing something significant, and so I look back at my life and some of the things that I've done, and so I think my biggest personal and motivation is making a change and doing something significant, so my daughters can see that, hey, my dad did something.
Yeah.
He made a change, and so, or my dad was responsible for that, or my dad started that.
Yeah.
That's personal motivation for me. And then I have daughters, and it goes back to us being a woman-centric company. I wouldn't want them going out and navigating the auto industry and being taken advantage of. And so I want to make sure that they're safe within, everyone has a vehicle and they're going to need service, and they're going to need service often. And I want them to have a safe place to be able to get that done. And so that's where we come in.
Yeah.
And so
I just love that you've really created something that changes the industry on its head and really improves the experience of people, right? By ultimately saving them time and hassle. And that's why we're so excited as a company ourselves to partner up with you, because like our purpose is to create that better way to live. You're living that out. Like what better way than to help provide our residents ways to get their lives, their vehicles taken care of, and ultimately to improve their lifestyle. So
I think that's big. I think, we all realize that you lose money, you can make it up again, but you can't make up time.
yeah,
And so, you lose an hour in a waiting room, you can't make that up. And so why not take care of these tasks when you're in your environment and enjoying either your home or being productive at work. So it was really important to be able to offer that luxury to our clients is save your time, do something fun with it. Let us take care of this while you're doing something better.
yeah,
And so our cars have to get serviced. They need maintenance, and so why not just take care
Yeah.
of it while you're relaxing?
I love that.
And
So we just have one last question to ask Vincent. So
Okay.
if you guys, the audience, have any questions of us or want to take the conversation totally different, you got another minute or so to do that. If we don't get any follow-up questions after my last one, then we'll wrap up. But again, if you have questions, feel free to chime in. So Vincent, my last
Okay.
sort of oddball question, he doesn't know I'm going to ask this, but
Okay.
what's one weird hobby or thing that you do in your free time?
one weird, I don't think there's throughout my life. I think in the last 5 years, I know this is kind of sound oddball, but with so much going on, I value being able to sit on my couch. And just I value just being able to sit on my recliner and just stop for a couple of minutes. So not too much of an oddball thing, but considering the life that I'm living in the last.
You work like all the time, don't you?
I do. I do. I'm always on the go, and 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and so being able to stop and decompress for me right now is an incredible luxury. Which to me, I think to myself, if I only had services out there who can come to my house and take care, throw out my garbage and clean my dish. I wish I had something.
Sounds like you should move into one of our
I
properties.
think what? I think I just might. I think I just might. And so that and I really I enjoy sports. I really just I love to sit down and watch.
Which sport?
I'm baseball is my favorite sport.
And what team are you root for?
Yeah, I'm originally from the East Coast.
Yeah.
Don't hold it against me. I'm a New York Yankee fan.
Oh.
I'm born and raised in the South Bronx. I grew up not too far from Yankee Stadium, and so I love watching baseball. I appreciate all of it, though. I love baseball, and now baseball for me is finished, and now it's watching football. And I have to say, I'm a Giants fan first, but I'm following the Vikings, and I'm rooting for the Vikings. I hope I think the Vikings have an exciting future, and being here and witnessing it, I think is kind of cool. So.
Hopefully they don't disappoint us like last year. I don't know.
It's 16 games. It's very difficult to be the last team standing.
Yeah.
So just remember, there's only one team that stands at the
Yeah.
end. So as long as they're failing forward,
Back to our lessons.
as long as they're failing forward, we keep rooting and saying, let's go Vikes. So.
Awesome. Well, Vincent, this has been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed connecting with you and talking about business and everything that's going on. So maybe at some point we'll have you back to see how things are
It would
going.
be great. We'll do a follow-up, and maybe we'll have some residents who have used the service. And,
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah, that'll be great. And we can get together and talk about it, and that'd be really neat.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Vincent, and thank you to all of you who've joined us today. I really appreciate you taking the time and asking the questions. This has been fun, and I hope you join us again next time.